Hello again, everyone. Today we're looking at a novel, and the title of this novel is The Edge, and it was written by Alan Gibbons. Okay, our big question today is, how is Harry and Joan's relationship presented? So we will be unpicking this question and answering it in today's tutorial. Before you begin looking at this question, what I would like you to do is look at the different types of relationship. So I've given you some definitions on the different types of relationships, and it is a do know task. And what I mean is, I would like you to copy the following in your books or write it down somewhere so you have this as a record. Let's go through the different types of relationships. The first type is parasitic relationship, and what this is when someone chooses a partner based on things that they think they can't have or do on their own. The second kind of relationship is a dysfunctional relationship, and this occurs when two people whose relationship is not positive for one or both parties. So this is a relationship type that is really negative, and sometimes it's negative for both sides, because how can you be in a relationship and it's negative for one person and the other isn't being affected at all? The third type of relationship that I would like you to take note of is scripted relationships, and this occurs when both people play the roles they are meant to play in a relationship. The next type of relationship that we're looking at is healing relationships. And this happens when people come following a struggle or a loss. Okay, so they come together because they've experienced some struggle or loss. And then we have the symbiotic relationship, where both parties can provide each other with something and everyone is gaining something from the relationship. And then we have romantic relationships. So I've looked at the different types of relationship that we are going to be looking at. I want you to consider what type of relationship is Harry and Joan's. So Harry and Joan, they have differing views about the situation with Danny and Kathy, and this has caused a lot of conflicts within their relationship. And I have put these different views down for you, and let's have a go through these different points of view on Kathy and Danny. So Harry believes that Catherine let him down badly because she brought disgrace on the family. He also believes that she had a squalid, disgusting affair. As a result, she's wasted her life and she should have gotten a good job. However, this did not happen. He also believes that he felt glad when she left. Okay, and now she's come crawling back wanting their help. He believes that Danny, who he doesn't even refer to by name, he calls him the boy. So the boy was a mistake, a half caste, and he's not his grandson. He also believes that his wife, Joan, is too soft on both Kathy and Danny. He believes, but we know that Harry's a bigot, so he's going to have this last belief that this is an Englishman's country. Let's look at Joan's opinions or views. So she's overjoyed to see Kathy and Danny. The years in between have been wasted, and she was worried about them in London. Harry is a stubborn and foolish old man. Edgecliff is a narrow-minded place. Something awful happened to Kathy and Danny in London, but she doesn't know what it is, and she's so glad that they have come back home to stay. Okay, we're going to further drill down into these different beliefs and how these beliefs and attitudes really portray the kind of relationship that Harry and Joan have. So we're going to read how is their relationship presented, and you can make notes as I read through these pages. So let's begin with page 74. And this is the narrative voice of Harry. He watches the boy unlacing his trainers. The boy. What the hell am I talking about? This is my grandson. He can feel something changing inside him. Danny's presence is forcing him to take a long, hard look at himself. How long has this been going on with young Parker? He asks. Danny continues unlacing the trainers. Why? He asks. What's it to you? You're living under my roof, Danny. Your family. At the mention of family, Danny looks up. Family am I? He asks. Harry is taken aback. What do you mean? What I say. If I'm family, why give me the cold shoulder? Granddad, don't you feel anything for me? I'm your grandson. Harry stares back. The word grandson bites into his flesh like a barb. He feels ashamed. There is more than a grain of truth in what Danny is saying. He tries to recover himself, clawing after lost ground. You're my blood, Danny. My blood. That's right. Not bad blood. My blood. Yes, and you wish I wasn't, don't you? Danny puts his trainers in the shoe rack and walks through to the kitchen where Joan and Kathy have been listening. Harry follows. Maybe we've got off on the wrong foot, Danny, he says. Wrong foot? Wrong skin is more like it, isn't it, Granddad? Admit it. You're ashamed of me. You always have been. Harry looks at the defiant rage in his grandson, and he wants to roll back the years, scour away the stubborn pride that stopped him acknowledging this young man. Danny, don't talk to me like that. I'm not your enemy. He's out there. Danny snorts. Harry looks at Joan and Kathy for support. You'd better make your mind up, Dad, says Kathy. Danny's right. We need your support, and you disowned us. You might not be kicking Danny like Steve Parker or calling him filthy names to his face like Steve Parker, but you think the same way. I can still remember what you said about Des. Maybe you're half the reason it didn't work between us. Harry wants to fight back, to tell her the real reason didn't work, that it just wasn't right, but it isn't the time for home truths. Kathy, he says, what's done is done. I'm finding it hard, I admit it. If only you'd never gone out with that man. His name's Des, Dad. He's got a name, you know. Yes, and once he'd got what he wanted, he was off. Harry, the cry has come from Joan. No, Mom, says Kathy. Dad's right. But he didn't turn against Des because he let me down. He hated him from the start, long before I got pregnant, and we all know why. Harry winces. This is all going wrong. He started out trying to build bridges, and now they're all yelling at him, as if he's the bad guy in all this. I only did what I thought was best, he protests. Is that right? Says Kathy. Well, all you did was drive us away. Make your mind up, Dad. Are you with us? Or with the likes of Steve Parker? She doesn't give him a chance to answer. Instead, she and Danny march into the living room and sit staring at the television. Harry looks at Joan for support. She just turns away and starts washing the dishes. Stupid man, stupid old man. Joan washes the dishes and cries out inside. Why can't you see, Harry? Why can't you open your eyes and see what's right there in front of you? Kathy and Danny are your family. Look at them. Just look with your eyes open for once. Look and don't listen to the mean, nasty, destructive voices you've got in your head. Kathy made her mistake, but she survived, and with no help from us either. And her son or grandson, he's such a fine young man. Danny is intelligent, well-mannered and decent. Don't you get it, Harry? Even though we've done nothing to deserve it, we've got a family anyone would be proud of. She heard him come into the room behind her. Did you have to? She demands angrily. They didn't give me a chance, says Harry. Didn't give you a chance? Joan spins round. Didn't give you a chance, you old fool. When did you give them a chance? Drove Kathy away, Harry. You destroyed her family for 15 years. Well, I don't want you doing it again. I won't allow you to do it again. If Danny's angry, it's because of the way you behave towards him. You're a spoiled, silly old man, Harry Magnum. You're either too stupid or too stubborn to do what you have to. Harry is standing in front of her with his mouth open like a codfish. This must be the most she has said to him in years. Joni! Don't you Joni me. You get in that living room and apologize. Do whatever you have to do, Harry. Grovel. Get down on your knees if you have to. She's out of breath. Her face is like a pink light bulb and she's holding her chest. I've got my family back, she pants. I don't know why they came home, what they're running from. There, she said it. She's known ever since that first afternoon. Kathy and Danny only came back to the edge to get away from something. It's as plain as the nose on your face. But you're not going to drive them away again. Lord knows, Harry, I haven't had much happiness. The shadow of pain crosses Harry's face. She knows she's hurting him, but she doesn't care. He's got to hear this, and I'm not getting any younger. This is our last chance to be happy as a family. Don't you dare spoil it, Harry. Her voice rises in a strangled shriek of rage. Don't you dare. Okay, I've done the reading and the question. Remember, as at the beginning, I told you what the big question was. It was, how is Harry and Joan's relationship presented? What I would like you to do is look back at the reading that I just did and use it to put in the quotations that show the kind of relationship that they have. I would also like you to give different points to summarize what you think about their relationship. Please begin to do so now. Okay, let us so you've had a chance to think about it, and we are pairing up and we're going to share. So this is my completed spiral diagram on how Harry and Joan's relationship is presented, and I've used previous readings that we have read before, so what we've learned from the previous chapters to these chapter to where we are now on page 77. So it is a dysfunctional relationship. It's a loveless marriage. They're unhappy. There's not support in the marriage. They feel unsupported, and it's unsupportive and disconnected. And the quotations are all there. So unhappy, Joan says, I haven't had much happiness on page 77. Also, for the dysfunctional relationship, we see that when Harry says, I might have known, he thinks. Joan's at it already, killing the fatted calf. She'll have the best crockery out for tea. You watch. You wouldn't think Catherine had been had brought disgrace on this house. And that was page 25, so earlier on, and you can see the differing viewpoints, and that's going to cause conflict within the marriage, because Harry's view is that Joan should not be acting as if Kathy didn't do anything wrong. She got pregnant when she was young. To him, she brought disgrace by going and having a relationship with a black man. Also, the man was married at the time. So for him, it's really disgraceful on every level. So she's come home and Joan is acting as if she didn't do anything wrong. So we see that. And then on page 58, some days Harry says this about Joan and how Joan feels towards him. He says some days everything annoys her, everything about him, and him is emphasized, showing this dysfunctionality in the relationship. I'm going back to the first quote from page 25 when he talks about taking out the fatted calf. And you take out the fatted calf for celebrations. So she is really putting on a great celebration. It's really a great welcoming party for the return of Kathy and her son. And Harry isn't having it. Then loveless marriage. And this is on page 76. And this is what Joan has to say about Harry. She calls him a stupid man, and she repeats it. So that repetition of stupid old man. So, it's everything. It emphasizes his bigotry on and his prejudice. It emphasizes he is very, very inflexible in the way he thinks and behaves. And then she says, and then the quote says, Joan washes the dishes and cries out inside. So we get that pain that she's feeling, her emotional distress. Why can't you see Harry? The rhetorical question really emphasizes her anguish at Harry's inability to change, inability to see that this is his daughter and his grandson, and he needs to accept them. Why can't you open your eyes and see what's right there in front of you? Look and don't listen to the mean, nasty, destructive voices you've got in your head. And I think that pattern of 3 there, the repetition of those words, really emphasizes how she feels towards Harry. She doesn't feel that he is a really good person, a really good human being. And then let's look at the disconnectedness that they feel towards each other. Life alone with Harry is bloodless. So if there's no feeling there, so if someone is bloodless, that person is dead. So we're thinking about the deadness in their marriage, how they're disconnected with each other. the same thing every single day. So that repetition is very monotonous, their life. All they do, these two tired people, is plod through life, struggling to find a word to say to each other. And when I talk about them being disconnected, it also talks about they're not even talking to each other. So what kind of relationship is that? And then the last one, there's no support. They don't support each other. And we see this when Harry looks at Joan for support on page 75, and she turns away and starts washing the dishes. She doesn't want to engage with him. She doesn't want to support him. She thinks he's in the wrong, and that really communicates in her behavior. Okay, so we're looking at how is Harry and Joan's relationship presented, and what I would like to do, I would like to do a joint constructed answer. So I've gone through all the points already with all the quotations, and I'm just going to give you an example of it. What I would like you to do is, when you do your independent constructed task, which comes later, please write what you've come up with, your paragraphs, your Peter paragraphs, at the end of this tutorial, so I can have a look at it. I can then give you the appropriate feedback. So this joint constructed one, from what we've just gone through in the previous slide, an example would be: Gibbons presents Harry and Joan's relationship as a very dysfunctional, with them being both disconnected from each other. This is elucidated when Joan says, "Life alone with Harry is bloodless. The same thing every single day." The use of the adjective bloodless to describe their marriage life clearly shows the monotonous, dead nature of their existence, and lets the reader feel the struggle that anyone would feel having to daily survive in such a relationship. So I've done my point, which is Gibbons presents Harry and Joan's relationship as very dysfunctional, with them being both disconnected from each other. This was followed by the evidence, which is life alone with Harry's bloodless, the same thing every single day. And then the technique, the use of the adjective. And then after the technique, we have in Peter, we have explanation, which is to describe their marriage life clearly shows the monotonous, dead nature of their existence, and lets the reader feel the struggle that anyone. So this bit lets the reader feel, that's your reader effect, the struggle that anyone would feel having to daily survive in such a relationship. Now it's your turn. So I've given you a structure that will be helpful when you do your Peter. So I've given you the sentence stems for each part of the Peter. So Gibbons presents Harry and Joan's relationship as, and then you complete your point. And then this is revealed when Joan says, you'd put your evidence, and then you would decide what technique it is. Is it an adjective, a verb? Is it a simile? Is it a metaphor, etc.? And then to introduce your explanation, you would say this suggests, and say what it suggests, and then say why it suggests that with your because. And then the last bit of Peter is your reader effect. This makes the reader feel. I've given you two structures